Alright, how's it going, everyone? So I'm going to make a kind of a different video than I normally make, obviously, because they're all, VODs. But I wanted to make a little recap video on the first game, the Monster Hunter Stories 1. Since the second one's coming out, you don't really need to play the first game, but if you want to know the background of the characters, the backstory, what took place before the events of this game, of Stories 2, that's what I'm going to be doing. So, at the beginning, so the way this world works, right? Let me establish the world building real quick. So, you're a rider. They're a separate culture from the hunters. So what riders did, they abandoned pretty much the world, right? They left to the far reaches of the world and have hidden villages all over the place. And so what they do is they live with the monsters, and if a monster leaves their ecosystem, the riders try to drive it back so the hunters don't kill them all, right? So kind of in this world, the hunters are the bad guys, quote unquote, right? But I mean, can you blame them? In the games, we fucking slaughter them to the millions, but whatever. So your character in canon, in the anime stuff, your character's name is Lute, but you can obviously name your character anything. You can be a boy or a girl, doesn't matter. And so the way the game starts, you start by you're a faceless character. You don't have your character's face yet. You're in this cool hood, and you're trying to become a rider. You're going through this forest that Lilia told you, your childhood friend, told you that there's an egg on this tree. She's like, oh, it's somewhere around here. And so you're heading over, and you find this huge tree, and you see it's a Rathalos egg. Even though the egg that you see in the nest isn't an actual Rathalos egg. It's Ratha's egg. It's its own Rathalos. So they try to hatch it with. So what the riders need is a kinship stone, and what the stone does is it allows them to have kinship with the monster, which just makes them their buddy. And so they use the stone to hatch an egg, but see, they're not riders yet. So they pick up some just random stones around the nest, and they do the ritual. So Lilia says the words of the ritual, and you all put out your fake kinship stones to try to hatch Ratha. And lo and behold, it doesn't hatch. What a surprise. But wait, after a convenient 5 seconds, boom, it hatches. This is a very, very rare event to occur, right? That a Monstie is able to hatch from an egg without a kinship stone. That means your character's kinship is super high. You're the chosen one, obviously. So you hatch Ratha without a kinship stone. Then you and your friends make it back to the village and show the village. So it's this cute little Rathalos. You're like, oh, that's nice, super cute. Here's where the game gets kind of whack, okay? So the whole looming threat in this game is called the Black Blight. It's a threat that occurred thousands of years ago, and now it's back, and no one knows why. And so the power of the Black Blight, it can corrupt monsters and make them act abnormally violent and attack random villages. And so this Nargacuga gets blighted and goes to attack your village. So you're like, oh shit, we're not even prepared at all. And so the Snargacuga comes in, and all the actual riders are trying to defend it, and the Nargacuga is about to attack you, but Ratha, your baby Rathalos, actually tries to defend you, but it gets hit by the Nargacuga's tail, loses his eye and gets a permanent scar, and gets knocked off the side of a cliff. Oh, great. Your baby Rathalos is just gone. Awesome. Cool. Good pacing. And then, guess what? Your friend Cheval, who you saw at the beginning with the red hair, his his mom is in his house. You see her like once in the game. And so the Narakuga goes on top of their house and smashes the mom. So the mom, dead. The mom is fucking dead. First 20 minutes of the game, oh, your friend's mom's dead. So, oh, that's the pacing of this game, huh? Very cool. And so, after these events, like, Cheval kind of vows revenge. You know, his character really changes after this. That was a very good turning point for Cheval. Well, not really good, but you know. So a year passes and you're going to be turned into a rider. So you have to do the rite of proving. But Lilia, she says that she doesn't want to be a rider. She wants to be a scrivener, which is kind of like a handler, right? But they do more research into the monsters instead of telling the hunters where to go. They want to do more research on how to save the planet and everything, you know? And so you, Cheval, become riders, and you don't really see Cheval after this for a while. He just leaves because he wants revenge, right? And so you go to the trial cave at Mount Pondry. So during the rite of proving, you're about to hatch your egg, which is like, it's a Velocidrome egg, you can kind of tell. But then your egg starts to move, so you're like, whoa, my power's kind of crazy, right? But you get introduced to the best character in the whole game, Naviru. A weird looking Palico who's gonna be your buddy the whole time. Great, you know? He does annoying fucking puns, and he's an annoying character, and I really don't like him. But whatever. He's here. That's how you get introduced to this character if you don't know from the second game. Because somehow he gets to this island of riders in the second game, so it's whatever. So you get your Velocidrome, you do a tutorial, then you get tasked to go out into the world in your little, like, the first area is Pondry Hill, so you get sent out there to cleanse your stone in this waterfall. And so you head out there with Naviru and your Velocidrome into the hills and into this cave. And so you get it cleansed, but wait, conflict has to occur, right? The Nargacuga that destroyed your village is back. You have to fight it off with your little baby Velocidrome. You defeat it, and then he retreats. How a Velocidrome could even stand a chance is beyond me, but you know, whatever. So, and they're like, okay, we need to stay here. We need the advanced riders to take care of this thing, you know. So you sneak out of the village to hunt down this Nargacuga, right? You go out of the village to defeat it once and for all, and you see this huge crystal. Like, the Nargacuga is guarding this huge crystal, which is, if you like, you'll eventually learn that it's a kinship ore. That's what they use to make the kinship stones, right? And so this ore is corrupted by the black blight, and so the Nargacuga is trying to defend it, so you cannot stop its progression in destroying the environment. So you have this awesome boss battle with the Nargacuga, and then once it's defeated, you don't actually kill the Nargacuga because your guy is a good guy. And you cleanse the stone, and you cleanse the Nargacuga, and you save the day, right? And so you're like, dude, I need to leave. We have a bigger mission we have to do. So the chief tells you, all right, you need to stop this black blight, and so you need to head to Gildegarden, which is a city of hunters. And so, but on the way, there is the Darge Snowfield. And so he tells you, okay, head to the Darge Snowfield, and you'll meet a wyverian who will teach you the rite of channeling, right? So you head over there. You make it to the Dark Snowfields, and there is some cabins. You see the cabins, and then it's like, oh, okay, so you must be here. No one's there. And then, so you're like, okay, let's explore and try to find them. So you find this cave, right? You find the cave, and then you meet this character, a fanfare character, Avinia. And you see her kind of like injured, and her monstie, a Barioth, named Frostfang. Frostfang, wow. I bet if you played World, you've heard that name before. I believe that monster is based on this one. But it's like, whatever. So the Barioth is about to attack you, but you show off your kinship stone. And Barioth's like, okay, you're another rider. Take care of my rider, please. And so you rescue Avinia, and you head back to this cabin. And then this fat, huge wyverian comes in. And he starts to ask you riddles. And he's like, okay, I'll help you out if you answer this riddle. And he gives you a riddle describing a Lagombi. So he wants you to get a Lagombi as your monstie. And so you go out, you get a Lagombi as your monstie, and then he teaches you the rite of channeling by giving you his Yankutku. And you infuse the monsters together, and then Lagombi knows a fire move now. So it's like, oh, you can give like an ice monster fire element. It's a pretty cool system. If you guys want, I can make probably a video describing the rite of proving. But yeah, I want that to be. I don't want to explain that in this video because I want this to be more of a recap. After you do that, you learn of the monster that hurt Avinia, a Kezu, very disgusting monster. This horrible like leech wyvern thing. Ugh, terrible. And so, conveniently, the Kezu is weak to fire. So you head out and you battle the Kezu, because the only way to get to Gildegarden is through this cave, and the Kezu's there, blocking it. So you have to go and kill it, and then once you do that, you go into this awesome area, Perennial Pass, and it's this just gorgeous area. It's just literally just a path, but with some awesome cherry trees. And so or cherry blossom trees, I guess. And there is a sleeping pink Rathian. Don't fight it. This thing is overpowered. Like, it will one-shot you if you try to fight it. I definitely never tried it myself. I just heard rumors, obviously, so, you know. So you make it through the way, and what's good is there's some Kelby here too, so you can get some Kelby horns and all this stuff. And there's a few monster dens in there, so if you want to grind a little bit, you can do that in there too, since it's a whole new area. So through this pass, there is the entrance to Gildegarden, which is pretty cool, but everyone is like, whoa, does that dude have a fucking monster? So everyone's all scared of you and your monstie, and so you're like, okay, we need to discuss with the monster guild, the hunter guilds, you know. So you head over there, and you meet with the guild master, who's friends with your chieftain in your village. And so he tells you, all right, your monster's kind of causing a commotion, so if you work for us, we can hide it and help you out. So you're like, okay, whatever, I'll help you guys out. So he has you go out and fight a royal Ludroth outside of the town, in another area of the plains. And so you fight it. It is a named Ludroth, but it's not like it matters. It gets killed pretty damn fast. And so he's like, all right, you helped us with that, we'll help you. So he gives you a bunk. So you get to bunk with a local legend, Roberto, local hunter legend. So he's like the bestest ever legend hunter, you know? But what not a lot of people know is that he's a lazy piece of shit. So he's like, hey man, how about you go and pick some mushrooms for me? So you're like, okay, whatever. So you go out into this forest and you pick some mushrooms, but when you go in the area, there's like spiderwebs everywhere. So you're like, oh yeah, this is not ominous at all. And so you find a Nursilla, that's a Nursilla nest, and you fight that. And it was not that hard of a fight, right? It's not that hard. It's a technical boy, not that bad. And so you find the mushrooms, and then once you defeat it, Roberto shows up. He's like, "Oh, don't you need some help?" And you're like, "Dude, what the hell? You didn't tell us about the Nursilla here." And you're like, "He's like, oh yeah, well you gotta look around, dude." And it's like, "Oh yeah, thanks." You gotta make sure you check your environment. Even if you're just mushroom hunting, you gotta be aware of your surroundings. So you're like, "Okay, thanks." So once you come back, the Scrivener leader named Simone asks you to help her out. And so she's telling you about a Quirpeco who's acting strangely in the plains. So you go out, you investigate, you fight this thing. But around, I would say around the like once you defeat half its health, it does a call. So if you don't know what a Quirpeco does, it has the ability to mimic monster sounds, like monster roars and calls. So it calls upon a monster, and it's a blighted Rathian. And it's just out of nowhere. This fucking blighted Rathian just comes out of nowhere. You're like, oh, okay, cool. So you defeat the Quirpeco like nothing, but you have to battle the Rathian, which is kind of a threat. So you defeat it, and then you head back and report your findings. And she's like, oh yeah, thank you for doing that. But we also have reports of a black fiend attacking Roberto's hometown of Albrax, which is in the desert. It's in a new desert area. And so she tells you to go to Osium, which is a hunter camp, and make some plans. And while at that camp, while you're making your plans and such, a new character comes in as this evil Dr. Eggman kind of guy. He comes in with this robotic cyborg Baroth and says like, "Oh, I can control the monsters like the riders can," you know, because it has like this fake kinship stone on its forehead. He's like, "Look at this," and like he tells the Baroth to do various things, and so he tells them like, "Stop attacking," and this is what I'll do to stop it. And so you're like, "Okay, thanks, dude." So he leaves. And then, so you're about to head over, but then they're like, okay, we want to head over to Albrax, but there is some quicksand, and we can't get past that. Investigate it. So you investigate the quicksand, and then there's a blighted Cephadrome there. A Cephadrome's kind of like a sand shark kind of thing. And so you defeat that pretty easily. It's not that big of a deal, not that hard. After you defeat the Cephadrome, the blighted Cephadrome, you're then ambushed by the doctor, right? You're then ambushed by the Dr. Eggman kind of guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'll deal with the Black Fiend." You're like, "No, I got this." He's like, "Oh, fine, I'll beat the shit out of you then." So then you fight his robot Baroth. That's, at first it's like, okay, he's controlling it. But then it's like, he sends his Baroth after you, but then it like starts going crazy. It starts twitching out. And then it gets controlled by the Black Flight and attacks you. It's like, great. My health is already low from the Cephadrome. Now I'm going to get my shit kicked in. But no, it's not Pokemon, so they healed your monsters, which is very nice. And so you battle the Baroth, defeat it, and then you see this flying thing in the background. She's like, what is that? And it's a Rathian. So you're like, oh, that's weird. but it has a rider on it, so it's a rider. She's like, okay, cool. Then you see it's Shovel, and he has this awesome like Azure Rathalos armor on and this cool fire sword, and he wants to kill the Baroth because it was corrupted by the blight, you know. And so you defend it. You're like, whoa, I already defeated it and purified it. Don't do it. And he's like, I'll get you for this. So the way Shovel kind of works in this game is he's your rival, kind of. But he's not like as apparent as like Gary, right? He doesn't appear very often. He appears like, I think, one more time after this. Maybe two. He shows up. You do not fight him. He's like, I'll get you. If you get in my way again, I'll beat the shit out of you. And then he leaves. It's like, okay. Whatever. Thanks, Shovel. I thought we were friends. So you then head up to Albrax to deal with the Black Fiend. Right? And so the Black Fiend, it turned out to be a blighted Black Diablos. And there was a huge kinship stone in the middle of the town. So you're like, shit. A Black Diablos. Okay. This pacing is kind of whack. So you do defeat it, obviously. You defeat it. You purify the stone. And you have a little like side quest kind of thing to break this rock and bring the water back. And it's like, whatever, dude. So what this Albrax will be is kind of your rider hub. Because this is where the arena is. So you can do PvP here. And a bunch of stuff. It's like it's kind of like just your hub area. But made specifically for riders. Right? So you head back to Gildegarden to report your findings and that you've defeated the Black Fiend. So like, yeah, congrats. Great job. But then you hear some commotion going on. So you're like, what the hell is that? And then you go to the docks. And then you see this Rathalos attacking, but it's a little tiny Rathalos. Turns out that little Rathalos, it's Ratha. From all that time ago, Ratha's back. And so you show your kinship stone to Ratha, and he's like, he tackles you and then loves you again, right? He recognizes you. And so the hunters still want to kill Ratha, so you escape and you head to this volcano. You head to this volcano because Lilia shows up and tells you there's a kinship stone at this volcano that you have to deal with, and it'll be away from these hunters, so you have to go there. So you're like, okay. You head to this volcano where the kinship stone is, or kinship ore, and you head over there. And then you have to help out some local residents with like an Urgon or whatever. Once you defeat the Urgon, you find this little secret laboratory area. But then you go onto this spot, and then you, Ratha, and Naviru all get captured and sent into this laboratory. And so you're like, oh, you wake up like a couple minutes later. So once you land into the lab, you meet this little palico named Number 6. Calls itself Number 6, aka Floof. And she says that she recognizes Naviru as Number 5. So you're like, what is this? What's this whole numbers thing? But Naviru has no memory either. So she just says, okay, we need to save the other numbers. So you're like, alright, kind of weird. And then she shows off this power that she has. She has insomnia. Right? She can make people fall asleep. But she can only make herself fall asleep. Which is great. And so she asks you to help the other numbers. And so you're out finding the other numbers. You have to fight a few more of those robot monsters. Whatever. You save them, and then you say, like, after you save them all, they talk to Naruto like, hey, Number 5, what's the plan? And you're like, Naruto's like, what plan? And so he shows off this awesome cannon to help them escape. And so you learn kind of the backstory of Naviru. So what he did was he found a way to escape, but he bumped his head on some rocks and he forgot everything. The numbers, he like has a PTSD flashback of this memories. So he's like, wow, I remember everything now. And so you find out Naviru's a fucking Super Saiyan with like I believe the wiki says he has like Zenogre genes in him. So he goes like all Super Saiyan with electricity and powers up this cannon. Because only Naviru can power up this cannon because of his powers. And so he blasts through the door and you have to fight the doctor again. But he has a robot enactor. But, surprise, surprise, the Black Blight shows up at the worst time. Takes control of the kinship ore and takes control of the enactor at the same time. This boss fight is a bitch. If you don't have a good, like, fire resistance or anything, you're fucked. Because this thing destroys you. So my suggestion, if you do go to this area, like if you play this game, make sure you have a sword and shield, and you have some decent armor that has fire resistance. Probably more like, you'll probably want like a Rathian armor or Yenkutku, kind of like that. So after you defeated the enactor and you escaped the volcano, you actually have a crash landing with Ratha. Ratha's like kind of like in pain because he got shot in the face previously, but you know, whatever. And so he's like starting to go kind of mean, you know. He's starting to just try to slash at you and bite at you. But then it appears that the scar on his face is blighted. So he starts to become a blighted Rathalos, but Avinia comes in and like tells you, hey, use your kinship stone to calm it down. And then so you calm it and you stop the blight. And she says, like, as long as you have a kinship stone, you're able to stop this blight from spreading. So that's perfect. But then, oh, your boy Chevel's like, ow, he's corrupted. We need to finish him off. He's just a random monster who needs to die. And so then you kind of have your first boss fight against him. This is like your first rival battle against him. I think you only do this 2 more times. Yeah, you fight him in the cave in Pondry Hills, and then you fight him while riding the white dragon at the end. I think that's about it. And so you have to escape, and then you escape into the village where the residents live that live on the volcano. So you head there, and then they're like, hey, Ryder, we have some people trying to ask for you. It's like, okay. So you head to the dock, and there's this palico named Pansy. She wants to know, she heard Naviru is here. Apparently she's a friend of Naviru's after he got amnesia. And so Naviru, obviously, since he got his memories back, he remembers her. And so they're like, okay, let's head out. Because there's also word that the Black Blight is at their base, too, at the village of Palicos. And so you go with Pansy to their island, and you meet up with these fucking bully Palicos. Who gives a shit about them? No one cares. And then Pansy's like, oh, stop fighting. Ooh-hoo. You know, and it's like, okay, women. And so she runs away and then gets kidnapped by Yan Garuga. And of course, it's a blighted Yan Garuga, right? So they're like, shit, fuck me. This thing, so this is the first monster to have 2 moves at once, right? Per turn. So you have to fight this thing. You have to destroy both its parts. So it has 3 parts on it, right? Its head, body, and tail. Its body in this game isn't really a part, right? But you have to destroy its head and its tail so it would stop double attacking. So that's a bitch to deal with. Because by the time you break the tail, the Garuga's already close to death. So it's like, okay. So you defeat this thing, and then you hear rumors of the blight spreading in the mainland. So you head back, to Gildegarden, and you head to the forest of Babda to learn of the prophecy of Redan. And so, in the ruins, you learn of the prophecy of Redan, a legendary rider who stopped the Black Blight while riding a white dragon. And you need to find a clue where the white dragon egg is. So you head over, you head further into the forest, and then you find this huge tree where the egg might be. So you go up the tree, and you get stopped by a Zenogre. I shit you not. This thing is a bitch and a half, okay? So this thing, the way it works, the way this Zenogre works, right? You have the Zenogre, dead center. You have Fulgur bugs on its left and its right. And I believe the Fulgur bugs just do technical every single time. I think it's either technical or speed. It's one of those two. So you can easily destroy them. But because you want to focus on the Zenogre and not these dumb bugs, you fight it, right? But eventually Zenogre gets a move. Oh yeah, self-destruct. So the bugs blow up and just one-shot you practically. And if they don't one-shot you, the Zenogre does. Because all three of them just go after you every single time. Yeah, I may have had to grind. Like, when I fought this thing for the first time, I got my ass kicked. So I literally grinded like 20 levels and just annihilated it. I'm a loser, okay? I was trash my first playthrough. So after defeating it, you make it up to the nest, and you see the egg of the Elder Dragons. You're like, oh shit, let me go and grab it. But then, wow, what a surprise! The doctor shows up again. Cool. The doctor shows up. So you're like, shit. Why you don't go and fly up with Ratha to stop it? Plot. So, sadly, because of this, all you can do is purify some more kinship ores. But after this, you see a cutscene at this one kinship ore, right? With the you see Cheval there, vibing, and then the doctor's like, "Hey, buddy, we have a proposition for you. You wear our kinship stone, and you get to control the white dragon to defeat the Black Blight." And so Cheval's like, yeah, let me do that real quick. Lilia messages you after you fail to get the egg that is a kinship ore at Hakum Village. So you head over there, you ask the chief where it might be, and the chief tells you that it's in Mount Pondry, where you purified your stone. So you head there, you complete a little puzzle, and a new doorway opens in the back. So you go in there, and you find the kinship ore where Cheval was, and the doctor were talking. So you're like, cool. What I didn't mention is that during their conversation, they heard a roar, right? A brute Tigrex. A brute Tigrex is there, and so you have to fight the brute. It's a blighted one, by the way, obviously. A blighted brute Tigrex comes to attack you. You defeat it, you purify the ore, and after that you learn of the last two locations of the kinship ores. One is in Kopani Village, which is the village of Palicos that you went to earlier, that you fought the Yangaruga, and the other is deep in the Babada rainforest. So, because it's not an open world, you have to go to the Kopani village first. Okay? And so you hear rumors of it, like, moving around. So you're like, what's going on? So you talk to the numbers, because they've seen it moving. You're like, huh? So there's a little puzzle with them, so you have to, like, rearrange the scenario in order. And then once you have that, you learn where it is. That the kinship ore was being used as a pickle stone by the grandma, because she's obsessed with pickles. Okay. And so you go into the cave where the stone is, and then a blighted Legiacris. A blighted Legiacris comes out and is guarding it against you. So you defeat it, which is, it's not that hard. You defeat it and you cleanse the stone. And so what I mentioned too is, I didn't mention this before, but as you're gathering these stones, these ores, they're increasing your power, and you're gaining the soul of Redan as well. Okay? And so the soul of Redan is with you, because then you'll be able to control the white dragon. So that was your goal, but then obviously the white egg is gone, so not really going to work. So then you head to the Babda Rainforest. Okay? So you head to the ruins of Redan, and a new path opens to this new area where the ore will be. And so the way it works is kind of like in Ocarina of Time at the beginning, where you hear the da 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 da, you know, by Skull Kid. So you go through that, and except now you're listening for lightning. So you're like, okay. So you follow the lightning, the path where the lightning is, and then you find this tree with this bright light coming out of it, and you meet this Kirin, the guardian of the kinship stone. And so you have to defeat the Kirin. You don't actually kill it because it's a guardian. So you battle the Kirin, and you gain the power of the stone. And so you have all the stones, for the story bit, right? You have all of them, but the last one you have to cleanse. And so you get it, you're just overpowered, and you head over to where the last stone is, at Mount Cleon. But this place is special because this is where the Black Dread, the creature created from the Black Blight, was created in the legend. And so you had to enter the mountain. There's a little pathway through the Darge snowfield you have to go through to get into this area. And so you enter these ruins, but to get through the ruins, you have to have the soul of Redan. So that was the whole plot point of getting the soul, was to get into these ruins. So once past the ruins, you find Shevel and the doctor. You find out they've teamed up, and with this makeshift kinship stone that the doctor gave Shevel, he raises it in the air and hatches the monster. Alright, so I'm thinking, from what I'm going to do for this last bit of the video, is I'm just going to let pretty much the end of the game play out by itself, without my commentary, because I think it's such a good ending to this game, and I want you guys to experience the way I experienced it. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. First time ever saying that, by the way. So I'll be live later today at 12 PST with some Ratchet & Clank if you're interested in watching that. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Have a good rest of your days.
Iegozei Pozbiri, Tirdamoku. Sabere Kakliu Lutui, Di Kina.
Leconti, Lilia, Bled, Betsy Kina, Lucky.
Kynasty de Sestoer.
Totas!
Massawa Kynasty, Musha Kynasty, Digusista Berke.
Pase colotat Kynasty!
Kafteze Nesper Kote. Stuke, Guma Kegalte Ego. Memoteo. Lad, Orkek Shoyland. Abelistoke Guma Kega. Piece of nobody. The busy percent. Ego buy you the way. Get assist the army. Kadma! Beauty of cat!
Anakos! Shabbat Usaka!
Barefoot!
Tizo Tiffy! Astakina! Shuba Tifa! Pelaona! Tifa de Shuba! Shuba de Isho! Ami Penny! Uruktele Koti! Plus Nimu Pisanavili! Ida! Dad Tifa! Esbora Shrolet! Shuba! Kinas Tilafludat! Kola Blade!
Yüksek obje. Musha. Sekirishira. fiend! With the Musha! This old lamb for Fergma. Oh! Is it that? Delcy, Leia.
Shuba, Parfum Mirectim. Sapeu Telaques. Puis.
레우스. 아이크시오야.
As we to mortal. This matter honor.
Tego białego giała mi holeki niosty.
Doubly replaced. Proving Nork Pronoa.
쇼바.
Sarah, with from the dealers. Leg kick Usuka. Amen. Dealers with kick more Ode.
뉴레스 파네 라다 키나.
今朝ウムダブリ今朝リプレシェットビツスエディグビッツダブリタッキラルーニエリバンナテラーケスラーダトゥーウォーターディッキーナラキフィーネリーキテラーケスマカニオンインフィニリウブクンペトゥールドニスノルゴラキポーズビリープロンノッタデイファルリゲスグランタンテディエンダウォーターディフェセロキーナルーニエプロボッシュアフズモアストプロンノ
キーナプレシャス
シケフェセルリテム